So, the Monogatari series. Hands down my favorite anime that I've ever seen. And if you don't like it, then you're probably just some shit taste casual. That's it. That's the joke. If you're trying to watch this absolutely stellar series, then honestly, the best way to go about it is to just watch it in release order. That's the way that it was intended, and the anime actually tells the story out of order purposefully. The books do the same thing as well. So there's no real reason to watch it in chronological order because it's not the way it was intended to be watched. If you do want to get funky and watch it in a different order than what was intended, then you're free to, but you should probably do that after you've already seen it once. If it's a rewatch, then yeah, knock yourself out, why not? With that said, I'll tell you the exact way I think that you should watch the show, which is basically just in release order, but with the Kizumonogatari movies placed differently, because that was how I ended up watching them. First up, you have Bakemonogatari, Nisei Monogatari, and Neko Monogatari Black. This is the first season, as it were, of Monogatari. Then you have the second season, which is Monogatari series second season. I mean, it's pretty self-explanatory. That whole thing is all you have to watch. If you want that broken up a little bit more, then it would be Neko Monogatari White, Kabuki Monogatari, Otori Monogatari, Oni Monogatari, Koi Monogatari, and then Hana Monogatari at the end. At this point, you're gonna enter the final season, as it were, which is what they call it. The seasons don't make any sense. Don't pay them that much mind. Point is, for the final season, here is the only place where my order differs from the release order, which is Kizumonogatari Movie 1, Tsuki Monogatari, Owari Monogatari Part 1, Kizumonogatari Part 2, Koyomi Monogatari, Kizumonogatari Part 3, and then finally, Owari Monogatari Part 2, followed by Zoku Owari Monogatari. I don't think that was enough to fit it on screen by my hand gestures, but I'm sure Future Toto will fix it in post. Bruh. Hey, Future Toto here. So as Dipshit here failed to tell you the entire video, you can actually watch all of this legally on Funimation with the exception of the Kizumonogatari movies. But it does include Bakemonogatari with its 3 to 4 ONA episodes that aren't originally included in the TV broadcast, and an HD as well, which Crunchyroll does not have, alongside Koyomi Monogatari and a few other hard to find ones. If you want to watch the movies, which you kind of have to, well, I'm sure you'll figure out a way. Back to the video. But that's it. The only noticeable difference from this, as I said, is the placement of the Kizumonogatari movies. If you just followed the release order on the Wikia, you would watch them all before Owari Monogatari Part 2. However, I watched the American Blu-rays, and when they were released, it was interspersed between the other releases such as Tsuki, Owari, etc., as you see with my list. Personally, you can watch Kizumonogatari whenever you want. Kizumonogatari was actually meant to be watched, in the anime at least, after Bakemonogatari. However, it got stuck in production hell. So, as a result, it didn't end up coming out until way later on near the end of the series. Because of that, you can watch Kizu wherever you really want. You can watch it before you start Bakemonogatari, you can watch it after Bakemonogatari, you could watch it after Neko Monogatari Black, or you could just watch it as I intended, you know, later on in the series. The reason why I do this is because you're not watching 3 movies back to back, number one, which they're like an hour and a half to 2 hours long, so that's a fucking commitment. But also, when you do it this way, you get to start Koyomi's journey all the way back in Bake, and then you get to finish his journey all the way in Owari Monogatari Part 2. Because the Owari Monogatari part of the series, specifically Part 2, is about Araragi's story. You don't really get his story throughout the show. Yeah, you get bits and pieces of it, but it's mostly about the girls. So this is the only part that really focuses on it. So by watching it in this order, you get to see him at his peak, his prime at the beginning of the story, and then finally him at the end of the story, which I think is enjoyable. But again, personally, it's up to you. It does not matter when you watch Kizu, just don't watch it first. Also, the animation is drastically different from the main series, so you don't really have to worry about it feeling jarring to watch something that came out in 2009 and then watch something that came out in 2017. It doesn't really matter because the animation styles are so different to begin with. But that's about all I've got. Yeah, I did just make a video that you could have just Googled in 5 seconds on Wikipedia, but those are like pro YouTuber strats, bro. This is my first video that I've done like this, so if there's any issues with it, go ahead and let me know so that I can fix it for the future. And if you enjoyed this style of video, then give it a like and I'll make sure to do it more often. But until next time, see ya.